Most people believe bone development ends in childhood, or that after retirement age you can only slow the damage. But what if that belief itself is quietly accelerating bone loss after 60? According to newer research in bone metabolism, the issue is often not age alone, but the biological signals bones stop receiving. If you're over 60, this should make you pause, because it reframes everything you've been told about bone health after 60. And here's the first question to keep in mind as we move forward. What if your bones are still listening, but no one is speaking clearly to them anymore? Here's the unsettling part. Millions of Americans over 60 take calcium, drink milk, and follow so-called bone-healthy advice. Yet bone density continues to decline year after year. So let me ask you this. What if your bones aren't weak because you're missing nutrients, but because they're no longer getting clear instructions on how to use them? That single idea challenges almost everything people believe about foods for strong bones. And in just a moment, you'll see why this misunderstanding becomes especially costly as we age. Scientists studying aging bone metabolism have uncovered something uncomfortable. Bones don't respond only to what you eat. They respond to how strongly your body interprets food as a reason to rebuild. When that message is weak, bones quietly shift into maintenance mode. Or worse, breakdown mode. That's when fractures seem to happen out of nowhere. But here's the curiosity most people never stop to ask. What separates foods that merely support bones from foods that actually rebuild bone density naturally? Stay with me, because the answer changes how you should think about nutrition after 60. If you're over 60, this becomes even more critical. Hormonal shifts, slower digestion, and reduced muscle signaling all interfere with how bones read nutritional cues. Research in geriatric nutrition shows that two people can eat the exact same diet, yet one maintains strength while the other loses it rapidly. That isn't bad luck. It's biology responding to different internal signals. And in a moment, you'll understand why so many bone-healthy foods never reach the activation stage at all. Now, this is where concern turns into curiosity, and curiosity into hope. What if certain everyday foods don't just support bones, but quietly flip a switch that tells bone cells, "You're still needed, grow stronger"? What if the real mistake isn't what you're eating, but stopping at foods that only whisper when aging bones now require a clear, firm signal? In the next section, we'll begin counting down the most effective foods for bone development after 60, and why the order matters far more than most people realize. So before you assume bone development is no longer possible at your age, stay with me. Because once you understand how these signals work, you may realize your bones aren't failing you at all. They've simply been waiting for the right instruction. And that's exactly where we're going next. Here's the uncomfortable truth most people over 60 are never warned about. Bone loss after 60 doesn't announce itself with pain or obvious symptoms. It works quietly, year after year, weakening structure from the inside until one ordinary movement, a small misstep, a light fall, even turning the wrong way, suddenly changes everything. Large aging studies show that the most dangerous bone damage in seniors doesn't happen in dramatic moments. It happens silently, long before anyone realizes there's a problem. And if you're over 60, that silent process is exactly what makes bone loss so risky. But here's the question most people never stop to ask. How can something this serious remain invisible for so long? What makes this threat even more unsettling is that many people truly believe they're already doing the right things for bone health after 60. They take calcium, they drink milk, they try to eat better than they did years ago. Yet bone density keeps declining. So here's the question most doctors rarely ask out loud. What if bone loss after 60 isn't caused by a lack of effort, but by following advice that's incomplete? Sit with that thought for a moment, because if it's true, it completely changes where the real solution lives. Researchers studying aging bone metabolism in older adults have uncovered something many people find hard to accept. Bones don't weaken simply because nutrients are missing. They weaken because bones stop receiving clear biological signals to stay strong. When those signals fade, bone tissue quietly shifts into a low-priority mode, conserving energy instead of rebuilding. That's when posture changes, balance problems, and fractures begin to appear. And here's the curiosity most people miss. Why do some foods look healthy on paper yet fail to slow bone loss at all? The answer isn't obvious, but it's critical. Now here's the good news. bone tissue is not dead tissue. Even after 60, bones remain biologically responsive if they receive the right kind of message. Newer research in nutrition for strong bones shows that certain foods don't just supply raw materials like calcium. They activate communication pathways between muscles, hormones, and bone-forming cells. That means bone development after 60 doesn't simply stop, it becomes selective. And that single word explains why some approaches fail while others still work. But which ones actually make a difference? There's an important catch you need to understand. Not every food sends the same signal, and not every signal is strong enough to matter at this stage of life. Some foods only calm ongoing damage. Others quietly prepare the internal environment. And a small number do something very different. They tell bones it's time to rebuild bone density naturally. Where you unknowingly stop in that progression can quietly shape how your bones behave over the next decade. And most people never realize this distinction until it's too late. In this video, I'll guide you through that exact progression, from the weakest signals to the strongest ones, and show you how to recognize which foods for bone development after 60 truly matter. No extremes, no scare tactics, just clear, science-backed guidance your body can still respond to. In the next section, we'll break down how these signals work and why the order you encounter them matters far more than most people think. According to researchers at leading medical institutions, bone tissue remains far more biologically active later in life than most people were ever taught. In simple terms, your bones are not passive structures slowly wearing out. They are living tissue that constantly listens to signals from the rest of your body. That's why so many adults over 60 feel confused when bone density drops despite doing everything right. But here's the question that usually goes unasked. If bones are still listening, why do they seem to stop responding as we age? A large body of research in aging and nutrition shows that bones don't respond equally to every healthy habit. In everyday language, bones are selective. They ignore weak messages and react only to signals they consider important. This helps explain why some seniors remain steady and confident on their feet, while others feel more fragile year after year despite similar diets and routines. So, what actually makes a signal strong enough for bones to react after 60? That answer is closer and more practical than most people realize. According to studies on bone metabolism in older adults, minerals alone are rarely the full solution. Put simply, calcium without context is like bricks without a blueprint. You may be consuming enough building material, yet your bones don't know where or even whether to use it. That's why many people feel frustrated when test results worsen despite good intentions. But before you blame your body, consider this. What if the real problem isn't the material itself, but the missing instruction that tells bones what to do? Research also shows that bones pay close attention to what muscles, hormones, and digestion are doing at the same time. In plain terms, bones take cues from how your body moves, absorbs nutrients, and communicates internally. This explains why two people of the same age can eat similar foods and see completely different outcomes in bone health after 60. One body sends clear signals, the other sends noise. And here's the curiosity most people miss. Can certain foods sharpen those signals instead of simply adding more nutrients? Scientists studying longevity consistently point out that aging changes how the body interprets food, not just what it absorbs. In simple language, the rules that worked at 40 don't always apply at 60 or 70. That's why many seniors feel like their body has stopped responding, when in reality, it's responding differently. And once you understand that shift, progress in bone development after 60 starts to make sense again. So when we talk about bone development at this stage of life, we're not talking about miracles or extreme routines. We're talking about alignment. Choosing foods for bone development, your body can still recognize clearly. And this leads to the most important insight of all. Not all foods speak to bones in the same voice. Some whisper, some prepare the internal environment, and a few deliver a message bones still take seriously. In the next section, we'll begin breaking down how these signals differ and why the sequence you encounter them in can quietly determine whether bones stay passive or start responding again. Now, let's count down the foods that influence bone development after 60, starting with the weakest signal and moving step by step toward the ones that speak more clearly to bone tissue. As you listen, pay close attention to how the biological impact quietly shifts, because for older adults, order often matters more than the food itself. Many people unknowingly stop too early, believing they've done enough, never realizing their bones were still waiting for a stronger message. And that raises an important question as we begin. What if the foods you already eat are only the first step, not the solution? Number 10. Oats. A calm start, not a build signal. Oats support bone health after 60 in an indirect but important way. They help stabilize blood sugar and reduce low-grade inflammation, both of which interfere with how minerals are processed in the body. When metabolic swings are calmer, calcium and magnesium are less likely to be wasted and more likely to remain available. In daily life, oats work best as a simple breakfast paired with protein, which slows digestion and keeps energy levels steady. For adults over 60, the key caution is assuming oats are bone-building on their own. They are not. The result is preparation, not development. And here's the curiosity to hold on to. What happens if preparation is where you stop, year after year? Number 9. Oranges. Structure without strength. Oranges influence bones primarily through vitamin C, a nutrient essential for collagen production inside bone tissue. Collagen forms the internal framework that minerals attach to, and without it, even sufficient calcium has nowhere to settle. In that sense, oranges help build the scaffolding, but not the strength itself. A fresh orange or a small glass of juice earlier in the day is enough to support this structural role, especially when digestion is more responsive. For those over 60 with blood sugar concerns, portion control matters more than frequency. Too much fruit at once can undo the metabolic stability you're trying to protect. The result of consistent, moderate intake is a stronger internal scaffold, which sounds reassuring, and often feels reassuring. But here's the quiet truth. Bones are still waiting for a reason to grow. This is often where people feel covered and move on, unaware that structure alone doesn't trigger strength. And that raises another question worth considering. What good is a framework if nothing tells it to become dense? Number 8. Almonds. Minerals. Begin to stick. Almonds move us one step closer to meaningful change by delivering calcium together with magnesium. Magnesium plays a crucial role in helping calcium stay anchored in bone instead of being lost through urine, which becomes a growing issue after 60. This pairing allows minerals to linger longer in bone tissue rather than drifting away unused. A small handful with meals is more effective than large portions, especially for seniors who need to balance calories and digestion carefully. For adults over 60, moderation matters just as much as consistency. Almonds won't overwhelm the system, but they also won't push bones into rebuilding mode yet. The result is improved mineral retention, a subtle shift that many people never notice because it doesn't feel dramatic or immediate. Bones are holding on better, but they're still waiting. And here's the curiosity most people miss at this stage. Is holding on to minerals enough to trigger real bone development, or is something still missing? As we move further down this countdown, the signals will grow stronger and more direct. In the next items, bones won't just be prepared or supplied. They'll begin to receive clearer instructions, and that's where the real difference after 60 starts to appear. Number 7. Sardines with bones. Recognizable building blocks. Sardines earn their place in this countdown because they deliver calcium, vitamin D, and phosphorus in a form aging bones immediately recognize. Unlike many supplements, these nutrients arrive already balanced, closely mirroring natural bone composition. That matters after 60 because bones become far more selective about what they accept. When nutrients look familiar, bones are more likely to use them efficiently instead of letting them pass through unused. And here's the curiosity most people overlook. Why do some calcium sources seem to work while others barely make a dent? In practical use, 1 to 2 servings per week is enough to support this phase of bone health after 60. Sardines with bones, canned or fresh, fit easily into meals without complicated preparation. For older adults, especially those managing blood pressure, sodium content deserves attention, so rinsing canned sardines or choosing lower sodium options can make a meaningful difference. The result is steadier mineral maintenance. bones stop leaking resources as quickly. But here's the key distinction. Maintenance is not the same as development. At this stage, bones are stable, but they haven't fully activated yet. And understanding that difference is crucial for what comes next. Number 6. Greek yogurt. When muscles join the conversation. Greek yogurt marks an important turning point in bone development after 60 because it brings muscles into the conversation. This food doesn't just feed bones directly, it strengthens the muscle signals bones depend on. Greek yogurt provides high-quality protein that supports muscle strength, and muscles play a direct role in bone rebuilding. Every time muscles contract, stabilize joints, and absorb impact during everyday movement, they apply mechanical load to bones. That load sends a powerful message: stay strong, you're still needed. After 60, this muscle-to-bone communication becomes one of the most influential signals bones receive. And here's a question most people never consider. What if bones aren't ignoring nutrition, but waiting for muscles to speak clearly first? In daily life, one serving of Greek yogurt earlier in the day fits digestion best, especially for older adults whose digestive efficiency has slowed. It works well as breakfast or a light midday meal and pairs naturally with gentle movement later in the day, which further reinforces muscle signaling. Those with lactose sensitivity should monitor tolerance or choose lactose-free versions to avoid unnecessary inflammation. The result of consistent intake is stronger communication between muscle and bone, a clear shift from passive support toward active engagement. Bones are no longer just being supplied, they're being reminded of their role. But there's an important curiosity to keep in mind as we move forward. Communication alone doesn't always guarantee action. Bones may be listening closely now, but they still need direction to know exactly what to do next. Number 5. Broccoli. Direction begins. Broccoli earns its position here because it delivers vitamin K, a nutrient that gives bones something they've been missing up to this point: direction. Without vitamin K, calcium can circulate freely in the body without ever reaching bone tissue, or worse, settle where it doesn't belong. Vitamin K activates specific proteins that guide calcium into bones instead of soft tissues, which becomes especially important after 60 as regulation weakens. In simple terms, broccoli doesn't add more building material, it gives bones a map. And here's the curiosity many people miss. What good is having resources if they never arrive at the right destination? Lightly cooked broccoli several times a week works best because gentle cooking improves absorption while preserving vitamin K activity. For seniors taking blood thinners, consistency matters far more than quantity, and medical guidance should always be followed to avoid interactions. When used correctly, broccoli changes the internal traffic pattern of minerals. Calcium begins moving with purpose instead of drifting aimlessly. The result is better mineral direction, and for the first time, bones begin receiving clearer, more confident messages about where strength should be built. This is often where people start noticing subtle improvements in balance, posture, or joint confidence. And it naturally raises the next question. What happens when direction finally turns into full activation? Number 4. Eggs. Hormonal support matters. Eggs take on a much more important role in bone development after 60 than most people realize, not because they directly add calcium, but because they strengthen the hormonal and muscular signals bones depend on. Eggs provide vitamin D and high-quality protein, both of which are essential for helping calcium move from the digestive system into bone tissue. Vitamin D improves absorption, while protein supports muscle strength, and muscles are not separate from bones. When muscles contract, stabilize, and move the body, they send mechanical signals to bones that say, "Stay strong, you're still needed." That signal becomes increasingly important as we age. And here's the curiosity most people miss. What if bones don't weaken first, but instead stop listening because muscles stopped speaking clearly? In practical terms, 1 egg a day is enough for most older adults to support this signaling process without overwhelming digestion or calorie intake. Eggs fit easily into breakfast or lunch and work best when paired with light movement later in the day, which helps reinforce the muscle-bone communication loop. For those over 60 with cholesterol concerns, medical guidance matters, not elimination. Eggs don't need to be avoided, they need to be used wisely. The result of consistent intake is improved internal signaling. Bones begin paying attention again. And once attention is restored, a bigger question follows. What happens when the structure itself finally becomes strong enough to respond? Number 3. Bone broth. Strengthening the framework. Bone broth earns its place near the top of this list because it supports something many bone health plans completely ignore: the framework bones are built on. Bone is not just mineral, it's a living structure made of collagen, proteins, and connective tissue that hold calcium in place. Bone broth supplies collagen peptides, glycine, and proline, which help reinforce this internal matrix. Without a strong framework, minerals have nowhere to attach, no matter how much calcium you consume. And here's the curiosity most people never consider. What if years of supplements failed because the foundation itself was weak? For daily life, a warm cup of bone broth several times a week works well, especially alongside meals when digestion is active. It's gentle, easy to absorb, and particularly supportive for older adults whose digestive efficiency has declined. After 60, sodium levels should be monitored carefully, especially for those managing blood pressure. But moderation, not avoidance, is the key. When used consistently, bone broth helps rebuild the internal scaffolding that bones rely on. The result is a stronger internal structure, where minerals finally have something solid to attach to. This is where rebuilding bone density naturally stops being theoretical and starts becoming biologically possible. Number 2. Spinach. Activation. Near spinach earns its position near the top of this countdown because it delivers a combination. Aging bones struggle to access efficiently after 60, magnesium and vitamin K in meaningful concentrations. Magnesium plays a critical role in activating enzymes that help minerals enter bone tissue instead of remaining unused in circulation, while vitamin K supports osteoblast activity, the cells responsible for building new bone. In simple terms, spinach doesn't just supply nutrients, it helps turn them on. That's why this stage feels different from earlier foods on the list. Bones are no longer just being prepared or guided, they're starting to respond. And here's the key curiosity to hold on to. Why does activation seem to happen only after certain nutrients finally work together? For practical use, spinach works best when lightly cooked rather than eaten raw. Gentle cooking reduces oxalates and improves mineral absorption, making it far more effective for bone development after 60. A few servings spread across the week are enough to support this activation phase without overwhelming digestion. If you're over 60, consistency matters more than quantity here. However, caution is important for anyone with a history of kidney stones, as spinach is naturally high in oxalates. This isn't a reason to avoid it, but it is a reason to be intentional. The result is active mineral integration, where calcium and magnesium finally begin behaving like structural components instead of loose resources. And now bone development feels close, but there's still one level higher. A signal stronger than activation alone. Number 1. Soybeans. The clear rebuild message. And finally, we reach the most surprising and misunderstood food on this list. Soybeans take the number 1 position because they deliver something no other food here truly does. Instruction. Soybeans contain natural compounds called isoflavones that interact directly with bone-forming cells, particularly important as natural estrogen signaling declines with age. After 60, this hormonal shift dramatically changes how bones behave. Many foods support bone health, but soybeans speak the language aging bones still recognize clearly. And here's the curiosity most people never realize. What if rebuilding was never impossible, only untriggered? Isoflavones help activate pathways involved in bone formation, especially in postmenopausal women and older adults experiencing hormonal decline. This is why soy behaves differently than foods that only supply minerals or protein. In everyday life, moderate and regular intake is enough. There's no need for extremes. Whole soy foods like tofu, tempeh, or cooked soybeans fit easily into meals without overwhelming the system. For those with thyroid conditions, guidance from a healthcare provider is important, but for most older adults, soy is both safe and effective when used consistently. The result here is not support. It's not maintenance. It's a clear rebuild signal. Bones are told, unmistakably, that they are still needed and still expected to stay strong. This is the signal many people spend years missing. In the next section, we'll bring everything together and show you how to apply this sequence safely, realistically, and sustainably into everyday life after 60. So these signals don't just sound good in theory, but actually work where it matters most. If you've been feeling uncertain about your strength or quietly worried about your bone health after 60, you're not alone. Many older adults feel this way, even if they never say it out loud. The good news is that your body can still respond, adapt, and regain stability at this stage of life when it receives the right support, which raises an important question. What if it's not too late to strengthen your bones naturally? Share with us in the comments, how old are you? And what is the single health goal that matters most to you right now? Because your experience might be exactly what another senior needs to hear today. Before making major diet changes or adding new foods, always check with your doctor, especially if you're over 60 or managing medications. And remember this as we close. The human body has a remarkable ability to adjust and grow stronger at any age when guided safely and consistently. If this video brought you clarity or reassurance about bone development after 60, take a moment to like it and share it with someone who could use that same sense of calm and confidence today.